Okay, so those outside who want to come in, you may come in. Those inside who want to go out, it's not recommended, it's wet outside. So anyway, if you need to, you can, of course. This is not a prison in here. I shouldn't have said that. Now people are going out. Ah. My goodness, they are too. Anyway, maybe just go to the toilet, then afterwards if you want to come back in, that's wonderful. What we're going to talk about this evening is I don't know. I never do. Sometimes I have an idea what I'm going to talk about, but then I change my mind before I start speaking. And a lot of times, the reason I do this is, and the reason why I look at each one of you before I give the talk, is to try and connect. What would you love to hear? I know one of the things which this time of year reminds me of, it's supposed to be like a holiday coming up soon. You know what a holiday is? What a holiday should really be is a time when we can put aside all of our duties and really take a rest. We work too hard. Often when people ask me, say, Ajahn Brahm, how are you? My usual reply is, overworked and underpaid. Underpaid is, that's easy to convince you of because I've got no bank account, no credit card, nothing personal at all. It's amazing just how well you can survive without any money. I have to be careful sometimes because sometimes when you go to different countries to give talks, you have to have a look at, they can actually ask you, have you got enough money to survive? And if I answered honestly by the customs and immigration, I'd say no, I've got nothing. But I always survive really, really well out of people's kindness because people invite you and they look after you. It's a different way of looking at the world. And, you never sort of... it's been a long time since I've had no place to stay. But I'll give you a good example. Recently, the last trip overseas I went on was over to Vietnam. And because I taught a retreat in Vietnam, somebody asked me today, have you got any recommendations of a nice hotel? I've already blown it, I've already given the joke away. A nice monastery you can stay in Vietnam. And I must admit, you kind of may call it a monastery. It was called like Renaissance Resort on the beach. That's where I stayed. It was all run by a Singaporean group. They basically took over the whole hotel and made it a meditation retreat center. And I love telling the story. And this is honest. This is how I find my happiness. Because I was a monk, they wanted to make sure I had a bit of solitude. So they put me up in this little villa, like a big kuti, just on the beach. I don't know what to do on a beach. It's been such a long time since I went swimming in the ocean. And even this time I never did. So they had 2 stories. The top story had these beautiful, what people think are beautiful views. But I took a look. Okay, I've done that. And then downstairs there was a smaller room. And there they had the best view. The best view of them all. Big windows, and when you look through the windows, about maybe a meter and a half on the other side of the window was a brick wall, right to the top. I thought, okay, that's for me. So that's where I stayed, for 8 or 9 days, in a room with the view looking over a wall. And not over a wall, but into a wall. And the reason I like that is because I'm on retreat, I'm teaching a retreat, and I love practicing what I teach. I love being peaceful. It's much more peaceful when you look out the window and you see a wall rather than an ocean. Because what it does is there's nothing to look at. It is a holiday. It's peace, stillness. All your jobs have vanished. Isn't that what a holiday is supposed to be? Where you don't have any work to do? You can relax to the max, nothing to plan, nothing to fix. Just be able to sit there and allow the mind to become peaceful. You've already worked enough. So if it's like a holiday time, why do you work again? Can't you just sit back and do nothing? That's one of the reasons why I often describe meditation. Many people don't understand it. Just learn how to do nothing. Can you do that? That's why on a holiday time, I told this anecdote years ago. It's like some of you may have like a house with a garden. And what do you do if you have a garden in the back of your house? Sometimes people sit on that garden seat and they play one of my talks. That's not relaxing. It's listening to something. Can't you listen to the talks and they say, don't do anything, relax to the max. So people stop listening to machines, and sometimes then they go and pick up a book and start reading that, to read how to be peaceful. You just put the book away and be peaceful. And so they put the book away, they put all the electronic machines away, and then what do? I love this story because I remember many people could relate to it. They're in their garden, and then they start looking at their garden, and they think, those flowers, they really need watering. And actually there's a few weeds in there which need weeding. And if they just change the path a little bit, it would look much more beautiful. And maybe just a little wooden wall in the back there would really fit in well. And maybe we can do this, and maybe we can do that. Is that relaxing? It's always doing something. So instead of doing things, you look at your garden. This is just a simile. You look at your garden and you say to yourself, even though the flowers need watering, even though there's weeds which should be taken up, even though there's trees which should be taken up. He's coming on Tuesday to take some dangerous trees out of our monastery. Sorry about that. They're supposed to be dangerous. I was told this when I first went there. They call these widow makers. That's what they said. Better do something about these. They're dead. They're going to fall over. They're going to fall over when there's a monk underneath it. That's so unlikely. But nevertheless, the powers that be, which is not me, they want to sort of take them out. But anyway, that many of those dead trees, they're always like homes for animals. And sometimes you want to keep a few trees there. And some of those trees, they were there when I first went to Serpentine 42 years ago. They haven't fallen over yet. So anyway, if it's raining that day, forget about it. But if you already arranged to do it, that's our tree lopper. It's very, very kind. So whatever happens, if you really want to take a rest and have a holiday, don't do anything. How easy is that for you to do? We've got things like an Easter break. How many of you are working over Easter? Me. I'm supposed to be teaching a retreat, but teaching a retreat is not really working, I must admit. I just go sit there and just open my mouth and just share beautiful stories, which are often very funny, sometimes. And you may notice if I tell a story about learning how to relax to the max, at least I laugh. I can see the funny side of life. Why is it people have got nothing to do, but they find that the most difficult thing to actually just sit here and do nothing. You always want to get something out of it. To get rid of a disease, or to actually to attain some beautiful state of mind. The way that Ajahn Chah taught me, and it's so accurate, you don't need to do anything to bliss out. It's like, imagine your default state. If you stop doing things, stop changing things, stop trying to get rid of things, stop trying to improve things, but instead you care for things, then you get so much peace and happiness and joy comes naturally. Do you know how to care? Many people, when I talk like this, they ask me, how do I care for myself? Not indulging in yourself, but really knowing what your body needs, what your mind needs, what your life needs, and actually giving yourself that time. In one of those books which I wrote, I grabbed that from the library today to give to somebody. Please, the librarians who are here, please give me the bill. It won't get paid because I got no money, but I wrote the book, so I think I could get the discount enough to give it to somebody else who might need it. I'm terrible with money. That's why I've got none. But nevertheless, the reason you do that, because it's got this beautiful little poem in the front. One of those 3-line poem. Grant yourself a moment of peace, and you'll be surprised at how you've been talking too much. Learn to be silent. Learn to be silent. I'm going to change it a little bit. Learn to be silent. What silent is. And you notice you've thought too much. And just learn to be kind. And your judgment of others and yourself will be found to be too severe. Can you be kind to others? Can you be kind to yourself? It means you don't judge yourself that much. Why judge yourself? Everything I do which is wrong, and of course you do wrong things sometimes by mistake, but it's not my fault. Even if I tell a bad joke, the reason I tell a bad joke is because I was brainwashed by my father to tell bad jokes. Honest. Then I still remember one of his bad jokes he told me years ago, and that was that one of his friends had a motorbike accident, and that he went to hospital. This was many, many years ago, 50 years, 60 years ago. And unfortunately, when he had to have one of his legs amputated, and unfortunately they amputated the wrong leg, so I had to take the other leg off. He lost both his legs. As soon as he could, he got a lawyer and sued the hospital. He lost his case. He didn't have a leg to stand on. My dad told me that joke. That is much better, that to learn how to laugh no matter what happens. Even I heard this from somebody else, because one of the things I have to do is organize funerals and conduct funerals. I remember this person, he was an entertainer. And when at his funeral, it was in a coffin, and they went, behind the curtain. Once you pressed the button, went behind the curtain, say goodbye. Because he was an entertainer, we had to press the button so he could come out again to do an encore. Oh, come on! And why do you make funerals just so negative? If it was my funeral, how many of you would like me to be the person in charge of your funeral so I can make people laugh? The first time I did that over it was Calcutta. When I went there, and I told a joke at someone's funeral service. The funeral directors in the back, those are the days they all wore black. They were really scary, those funeral directors. And as soon as they figured out I was telling a joke, they went, oh. And that just kind of encouraged me. So anyhow, wouldn't it be nice to... Why is it that people are often serious when a bit of lightness is more important? To be able to relax and make it more easy. That's one of the reasons why whenever there is a funeral service, a lot of times the kids come as well. They're part of the family, young kids. And personally, I really encourage that. And I encourage it because when the children come as well, and you can make it sort of light, you remember the person with lots of respect and laughter too. That's what I like when they say the eulogies, when they saw all the silly things which somebody did. We know one of the silly things I've done, I don't know if I've told you this for a while now. I had a friend, I was only 11 years of age, and he was so good at chemistry. And he said he had the ingredients to make a bomb. Now you can't do that these days, otherwise, they'll put me in jail for being a terrorist. All I did was supply the tin can. He had the chemicals, and we lit it in the local park, and it worked. Went bang, and I thought that was really wonderful. Until the park keeper caught us. And we got in big trouble. But nevertheless, have any of you done stupid things in the past? I have. And because I've done stupid things like that, and I let you know, it makes me feel more human. Not some sort of like Pope, who has been born pure and will remain pure forever and ever. The main purpose of being able to be a teacher is to be relatable to everybody. So you can understand just how you can start from wherever and have this beautiful life of not curing things, but caring for things. And that's what I really love to teach others. Please care for yourself. Even like doing weird things, like, your transport. I don't know how you came here, but caring for your car, caring for your bicycle, caring for your motorbike, or whatever it is you have. This is serious. A lot of times when you care for things, I'm not quite sure how it works, but things start to work much more smoothly. Even if you have a car, and sometimes it breaks down or something. Sometimes just instead of cursing it and say, why do you break down now when it's really important? Stroke it. It's a nice car. Please work. Try that. It does help. I remember seeing this story about, from another religion, from Islam, about this Christian she's one of these nurses working in Egypt, and she was like a palliative care nurse, and like the silver chain we have here in Australia. And she was driving back, in those old cars on petrol, driving back from helping somebody, and she ran out of petrol. And it was a couple of kilometers until she got to the next gas station, but she couldn't drive the car, it was stuck. And the only thing, she didn't have a petrol can, like a jerry can. All she had in the back of the car which she could use was one of these potties, which they use for elderly people. They can urinate in them, and they can take them outside, and I don't know what they do with them. But anyway, she had a clean one. So she went to the petrol station. She had to walk 2 or 3 kilometers, and had it filled up with petrol. She walked all the way back again, and that's what she was using to pour the petrol into the into the car. And this Islamic sort of priest saw her, and when she had to stop the car instead, seeing her pour something from a potty into the car, he said, "I don't agree with your religion, but I do admire your faith." But often, sometimes, the kindness does work. So many times. I love telling the story. You know that when I was a young monk here in Australia, I did a lot of the building work over in Bodhinyana Monastery. That we didn't have many funds, and I was exploitable. I was happy to help out. And one of the things we got, first of all, was a cement mixer. It kind of was my cement mixer. It's my friend. And I say that on purpose because often, we needed to make it work and we had to pull the cord. Often it would not work when other people tried it. And you can ask any of the other monks who were there at the time. I would actually stroke it. A nice cement mixer. I know I really make you work so hard, but this is really important. This is, for building a monastery, it's lots and lots and lots of good karma. Cement mixer, if you behave, you probably get reborn after you're recycled. I know, what's the next stage up from a cement mixer? Yeah, but I guarantee you get so much good karma, you'll probably get reborn as an electric-powered cement mixer, so no one has to pull the cord anymore. And honestly, it always worked when you were kind to it. Machines. And I don't know how many of you have had a machine at home which doesn't work. And what do? You hit it. That's no way to treat a machine. No way to treat your husband or your wife. They're not a machine, but why do we get frustrated and want to hurt something? It's much nicer to care for them. And if you care for even a cement, I've done this so often. I became famous once when I was visiting, Norway. Because those gates, the driver of my car had paid the parking fee, but the boom wouldn't lift up. And there was a queue developing behind them. So of course, what do? I got out of the car. I wasn't driving obviously, but someone else was. They couldn't get the gate to work. So I just, that boom thing, stroked it. It's a nice boom gate. Look, it's very cold outside. We have to get to the next appointment where I'm giving a talk. Can you please open? Honestly, it opened. I don't know how that works, but you try it. A lot of time it won't work because you've got no confidence. You think it won't. And that's one of the faults there. I've said this many times, and this is important stuff. It's not just telling jokes. That people who have cancers, doctors say there's no hope. It's stage 4. Or I was asking today, is that all there is, stage 4? Can't you go to stage 5? Get Guinness Book of Records, get the first person who's got stage 6. Can you? Why not? Do things differently. Break rules. I love doing that as a monk. Break rules. I mean, not ethical rules, I mean rules of science. Go a little bit further. It's not really breaking any rules of science, it's understanding them with much greater depth. And I love telling that story of what I saw when I was at university studying theoretical physics. But we also did some weird stuff as well when we studied hypnosis. And hypnosis is a great area because there you can do some weird stuff which is not supposed to happen. The case I usually mention, we had a stick, 4-inch nail in the end, and then we hypnotized this fellow student and told him this 4-inch nail has been heated up it's red hot. And because you're under hypnosis, you actually believe that. We touched him on the arm. He screamed in pain. You can understand that. At least I could. What I could never understand was to see a blister come up. A real blister. And it wasn't hot at all. You can touch it on a baby's skin and they wouldn't feel anything. But because he believed, his mind interpreted that touching his skin was going to burn him, it did burn him. It was a mind-created blister. And I loved that experiment. I mean, it just healed up pretty quickly, but the reason I loved that experiment was how powerful this mind can be. If a mind can create a blister, why can't a mind shrink a tumor? This is serious stuff. And once you start to see the logic behind that, it's amazing what you can see over so many years of also assisting with cancer support groups. The one over in Kottesloe, I've been going over there for I don't know how many years now. I think it's about 35, they said, every year. And they come to Bodhinyana Monastery once a year. And the reason they do that, of course you know why. Because sometimes adding this extra piece of wisdom and kindness and care to things like cancer often work. But sometimes I have to be careful, because I will never forget the time when I was phone call, emergency, can you come to Royal Perth Hospital, ICU, straight away. There was a guy there who was dying. And of course, you try and get there as soon as you can. And when I got there, because it took about an hour and a quarter to get from Bodhinyana Monastery in Serpentine to Royal Perth, when I got in there, I didn't have a chance to check up what was happening. There's this elderly Chinese guy. He was dying. So I went in there and did my bit, my chanting and my loving kindness, really giving it to him full on. And he came out of his coma. The doctors were surprised. They said, looks like he's going to survive. Brought him back to life. And I thought, wow, this is kind of miraculous. You know what happened next? I went into the ICU waiting room where his family were, and their family had come from overseas, from many countries in East Asia. And I said, I did a really good chanting and I managed to bring him to life again. Or at least he's going to survive. They got really angry at me. I couldn't believe it either. The reason they got angry at me was because they said, look, we wanted you to come and give him some chanting so he could die peacefully. They'd already pre-arranged the funeral service. And they come, they've taken time off work, they're all big business people over in Singapore or Taiwan or somewhere, and they all came over, taking time off work, just to spend their last couple of days with their patriarch. And now they'd have to go home again and come back later on when he just died properly. They would never invite me anymore. I've done the wrong chanting. But I learned from my mistakes. If ever you want me to do any chanting, you have to let me know. Is it like chanting so you can have a happy wedding together? Or do you want divorce chanting? Which do you want? Please let me know. It may sound funny, but it's important to actually know how you focus your mind on caring or negativity. That really works. That's one of the reasons why that it's not the power of the chant itself, it's where it comes from, the kindness and the caring which you give to whatever you do. And that's actually kind of half the meaning of life. I don't know what you do in your life, how you work, what you work at, but it's actually just how you care for the people involved in your work, including for you as well. How many people just worry too much? How many people, just when you're just even like, I like the idea of a mobile phone. You can't always be using your mobile phone hour after hour after hour. You have to charge it up sometimes, don't you? Not that I know. Honestly, I haven't got a mobile phone. I've got a tablet which I can use, but not a mobile phone. It gets me in all sorts of trouble sometimes, not having one, because you're supposed to have one in this life. If you don't have a mobile phone, it's like you don't exist. You can't do anything. Sometimes that's, your ID on your mobile phone. So I like having no ID. It's nice not to exist. Have you ever had that idea of when people try to check who you are? You have to have so many points. That's what it is. You're not made up of points. But if you go to any government department, that's what they say you have to do, to supply so many points to show you exist. It's an old story, but I've already started telling it. I remember just trying to get a Commonwealth aged person's healthcare card. I'm over 70 now, so I qualify. So I just decided I would take 5 minutes on a computer, but then they said, no, you have to turn up. There's so many people. They have identity fraud. I don't know. Identity fraud and pretending to be Ajahn Brahm. Would you like to do that? If you did, you're welcome. You can take it on if you wish. But anyway, they said you have to prove who you are. So I went down to the office over in Armadale, the closest one. I had to make an appointment, and this lady sort of sat opposite to me and said, we brought you here, you have to prove who you are. And my immediate response was, Madam, I've been a monk for about 45 years. For 45 years I've been trying to find out who I am. Still haven't found out yet. Please excuse me for being cheeky, but that's what I always do. And she said, no, this is serious. We need your ID. And they went through all this list. I don't know what you have to go through to prove who you are. But they wanted driving license first of all. Have I got one of those? No way. I haven't got a driving license. If I get stuck anywhere, I have to walk. I haven't got a driving license. And said, okay, credit card. No, I haven't got one of those. We got one for monastery, but it hasn't got my name on it, so that's no good. Your bank account? You know how much I have in my bank account? 0. I don't have a bank account. And then said, well, where are you staying? Have you got your house number? I don't have a house. You all know where I live. Actually, in a cave. That's true. I live underground. Hasn't got a number. Not a street. It's lovely living in a cave, because there you can really disappear, because no one can see you. I can't hear anything which is going on outside, so I don't know what the monks are up to when I go on retreat. I'm in my cave and it's really silent in there, and you can't get any mobile signals in there, and you don't have any light in there as well. So sometimes I don't know whether it's morning or night time. There's no windows, but really good air. Just a slight breeze goes through. It's well ventilated. Quiet, dark, silent. Just a place for a monk. It's almost like the nearest thing I can describe it as is a coffin. I was telling somebody recently, they said, Ajahn Brahm, do you need another electric car? And I said, well, if I did have a new car for monastery, the one I would really like would be a hearse. because I'm getting old now, and sometimes you get a bit tired. So I could actually get in the coffin in the back of the hearse and have a nice sleep when I come from Nollamara to Perth. Wouldn't that be a nice idea? And no policeman would stop you. Apparently policemen just do not stop hearses. I was told that when I was in the front of a hearse going to Karakata or somewhere with the corpse in the back, and I started to put on my seatbelt, and they said, "No, you don't have to put on your seatbelt in a hearse." That's what they told me. They said the policeman will not stop you. Even the policemen are scared. Is any policeman here? Please don't send a fine to the Buddhist Society. And imagine how convenient that would be. If you go to some of these, not on the weekend, sometimes you have all these people sending stuff up to the monastery. You would need a big car, just put it in the back of the hearse. A good idea. And when you need one, we can loan it to you for free. No? So anyway, back to the story. I said, no, we don't have any sort of documentation. And of course they also asked for my marriage license. Who are you married to? No one. I had nothing which people could count as ID. I had a passport. What else? Nothing. So you know what they said to me? This lady, she was serious. She said, Ajahn Brahm, you don't exist. She said that to me. You know what I said? Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. The Buddha was right. That's right. Well, she was so upset at me because I wasn't being serious with her. And so she said, okay, we'll give you your card. Sometimes it's nice not fitting into the box. Anybody ever said to you, just always think outside the box? I say live outside the box. It's much more interesting. And also I love just going through passport control and customs, because there you don't fit in either. And you've all seen me, this is honest. This is usually my baggage whenever I go anywhere. Who's actually picked me up from the airport ever? They're not here today. Oh. But this is my baggage. Oh, you picked me up, yeah. That's all I have. And so, when you check in, you got any baggage, sir? Yeah, this. You got any sharp objects in there? Nah. Is there any gels? I remember this customs officer asked me, there's a big queue of people behind me, have you got any hair gel? I couldn't help it. I was trying to be respectful, but I couldn't help but just laughing my head off. And so did all the people behind me. And this poor guy checking me, oh, get out of here, go through. So it's nice being honest. And these days, because I travel a lot, people at the airport, anybody at the airport here who knows me? Because a lot of times when I go through there and I come back again, they often ask me, are you giving a talk on next Friday night? They come here. It's nice to know just how far and wide this meditation and Dhamma has spread. So they ask me, and I say, yeah, I'll be there next Friday night. Even just recently, there was, one of the places I went to, I don't mind saying, on last Tuesday, was the opening of State Parliament. They've got a little place in the back there for religious leaders. And the lady who actually took me to the seat, she says she comes here. Is she here this evening? She said she was coming. That's the thing in Parliament, you can't trust what people say. No, I shouldn't say things like that. But nevertheless, it's nice to see just so many people you get to know. And they get to know you because, you do live outside the box. You're different than other people. You're different because it's good fun to be a monk. You don't have much stuff, you don't want anything, you can crack silly jokes. And, of course, one of those best people was in the United States. When they saw me coming through, they asked me, what have I got under my robe? It's quite a big area under here. I could be smuggling all sorts of stuff underneath here. And then I said, look, you can have a look. It's only fat. And the guy said, oh, that's a suicide belt. Fat? Suicide belt? I laughed. But anyway, when you have an attitude like this, of like kindness, not pushing things too far, but being able just to care for people and care for the moment, not be afraid, not be intimidated, it's amazing just how safe you feel and how you can bring some joy into people's lives. And because of things like that, you can make friends with anybody. I still remember just one of the places I used to go to years ago. I liked sort of teaching in different places. One was at the first prison I taught in was actually in Bunbury. And because many of those prisoners there, you really got to know. I didn't know what they did to get in there because you don't define a person by their mistakes. You can't just count a person that, because you stole, you're a thief. Because you stole, you thieved. But it's not you're a thief. 1 bad action, 2 bad actions, 3 bad actions, 4 bad actions. Does that make you who you really are? Of course not. That's one of the reasons why one of the best compliments I ever got was from a prison officer who wanted me to go back to his prison to carry on teaching. And I said, no, I'm really busy these days. I can't always go to the prisons. I've got so many other things to go to, the teaching, talking, giving retreats. And then I said, I'll send another monk. It's called delegation. I call it palming off, having an easy life. He said, no, we want you. Why me? And they gave me one of these best compliments, the things which really I will never forget, that really warmed my heart. He said, I've been in the prison service all my life. I'm about to retire. This is one of the things I want to do before I do retire. I want to get you to come back into my prison to teach. Why? And he said, because every prisoner who comes onto your classes never goes back into jail again. 0 recidivism. Oh, that, even I say that to you, I feel just so much kind of joy coming up. It actually works. So many people I've seen taught meditation to, they should be dead by now with their cancers. They're going to remission. I still remember this guy I taught on a meditation retreat. He had a big sinus tumor. He couldn't breathe properly. He was always during the meditation retreat. And at the end of the retreat, he came running up to me. He heard a popping sound. It's a popping sound, guy. And I thought he left it too late, but he carried on meditating after the retreat was finished. And I saw him 6 months later. He was one of these guys who came up to me and he said this thing, please never say this to me. Do you remember who I am? He was a guy who was really close to death. So it was all like his body was wasted, his muscles are hardly there. But, he said, I was that guy. No way I could recognize him. He was in full remission. His sinus tumor had disappeared. Imagine what that does to me. Yeah, I don't get much. Overworked, underpaid. But the job satisfaction is huge. That's one of the reasons why people volunteer here. We have some of our admin assistants. You see them here. They can't get away from this place. Our ops manager, our our president. Why do you keep volunteering? And the reason is because you're part of this. And it's amazing. Just you are making a difference. This is not just about religion and how many numbers we make here, but how many people we help. And that's what keeps me going. So this is where that caring instead of curing, that's the main part of what we do here. And the more we care, the more beautiful results come. Each one of you, why are you still listening to me? Hopefully you feel you are cared for. And I will just, whoever you are, I'll always care for you to the max. Even, it's wonderful to do same gender marriages. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Couple of heroes. And I'll always do that for you. Giving the very, 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 very best. It was wonderful, to make the opportunities available for females to have their own monasteries, bigger than a monk's monastery, more beautiful. That's why we got Dhammasara. I still never forget that. The people who first of all started thinking about buying this monastery saw a 30-acre piece of land, 30 acres for the bhikkhunis, the nuns. I thought, that's not fair. Only 30 acres. But on the way to have a look at it, we saw this, what was it, 583 acres? Perfect solitude. On the way there, so that's what I want for the nuns. That's Dhammasara. And the people there, really good people, they said, no, there's no way we can afford that. And we could. We got it on auction. And I still remember explaining that to everybody after we got it in auction. Thanks to good old Eddie Koo. He's not here today. No, the other Eddie, sorry. The Eddie Fernando. Eddie and Manel. They work in our library. He just broke all the rules. That's why I really praise him. I like him. Because, we had a maximum bid of, was it 600,000? That's all we could afford. He bid 650. And we got it. That's why I praise him. He bid 50,000 more than we could pay. So I'm terrible in finances, but we got it in the end. We managed to get it. It's a beautiful piece of land. I remember just coming here, I don't know, it was a Friday night, I think it was a Friday night, could have been a Saturday, and making the announcement. We managed to get this land, and now it belongs to the Buddhist Society of Western Australia for a beautiful monastery for women, so they can prove to everybody that women, men, doesn't matter what sort of country you come from, they're all able to become fully enlightened. And it's not just saying that, but showing that. The fairness that each one of you, no matter who you are, be treated equally. I remember just one way we raised the funds for that, when this guy came to see me, and he said, I want to make a donation for the nuns' monastery. And the reason was, he'd just given birth. Or not, so he hadn't given birth, his wife had given birth. I've got to be careful what I say. His wife had just given birth to their first child, happened to be a daughter. He was a Buddhist. And he said, in celebration of my first child, I want to make a donation just in case she ever wants to become a Buddhist nun. She has a place where she's treated fairly and equally. And that's when I don't usually get sort of nervous or shaking, But when he handed over the check for $250,000, $250,000, and that was when $250,000 was worth something. I don't know how many. It's always worth something. That was kind of amazing. The confidence. And I always find if you want to do something good, there's always people who come and help you. You don't have to worry too much about finances. I'm sorry. Is our treasurer here today? Actually, we're going to get a new one soon because of the AGM coming soon. Don't ever look at me as someone who's economically conservative or whatever. But anyway, it always manages to work out in the end. So thank you all for that. And it's the inspiration, the caring about things in life. And it's amazing after all these years just how many more stories I can say which inspire and which show what's possible and show just how you can care for everybody and gives you meaning in life. Beautiful stuff happens when people have beautiful minds. And as usual, I keep on talking too much. So I'm finished now. Any questions? No? Good. Okay, come on. Is it a question or is it a comment? A compliment. Nah. Go on, carry on. Okay. Okay, you can shout it out.
You know, this time you mentioned about the mind.
The mind, yes.
The mind can heal cancers.
Yes.
And also the guy with the nose.
Yes.
It's proven in this book by Mahasi Sayadaw. Okay?
Oh, yeah.
The title of the book is Dhamma therapy. Okay?
Yeah.
It's free, you can Google that, okay? It showed cases of people with tumor, and after prolonged meditation, they can see the tumor burst and the tumor.
Yeah, it does happen. So, we can put sort of Fiona Stanley out of business. No, I shouldn't go too far. Yeah, there's lots of nice stories about that. Yeah. Anyway, there's a couple of questions online, so I'll do those very quickly. Very good. Okay, question number 1. Please define what the mind is. No, I will not define what the mind is, because when you put it into words, you miss what the mind truly is. So how you know what the mind is, you meditate, be very still, and then when your sight turns off, when you can't hear anything, when your body disappears and you can't feel anything, you can't smell, you can't taste, when those 5 external senses disappear for many, many minutes or hours, then you will know what the mind is. What's behind all of that? This is not a theory, this is an experiential understanding. And that really makes a huge difference to how you look at the world. In deep Buddhism, that is experiencing what we call the jhanas, meditation. And the Buddha always said that from those experiences of the jhanas, that is the cause for seeing things as they truly are. And you can't see things as they truly are without those experiences. That's where you can see the mind, you experience the mind, you're with the mind. 2, you taught us about terminal lucidity, but any thought on why it is that not everybody exhibits terminal lucidity when passing away, when the mind leaves the body? Sometimes the people, they pass away by themselves in solitude. Sometimes that there's lucidity there, but they don't express it. Sometimes dying is a very personal thing. That's why I've seen so many times that when the family are with the person who's about to die, the person doesn't die. When the family leaves the room to have something to eat or just to take a bit of a break, go to the toilet, that's when the person passes away. And that's important to give them that opportunity. for that personal time at the end of your life. There's a saying that ignorance is suffering. Is it? Doesn't it say that ignorance is bliss? I remember seeing this in a Calvin and Hobbes cartoon. They were talking about the American Constitution in his cartoon. And he said, we are, even as kids, we are constitutionally guaranteed the right to pursue happiness. So if ignorance is bliss, and saying this is his Form 1 teacher, you're taking away my constitutionally guaranteed right to happiness. It's a wonderful legal argument. They've got a point there. Don't tell your little kids this. But actually we don't have the American Constitution here, but if they live in the United States, going to school is taking away the ignorance is bliss, the happiness. So it's illegal. You're not convinced? Okay. I thought it was a nice argument, but I'm not a lawyer either. What about noticing and knowing things beyond what people see, and yet we are unable to do anything to help? Because we don't understand what help is. Sometimes we think help is curing somebody instead of caring for somebody. Sometimes we think help... I remember this in Thailand, where I was for so many years, that because I was part of the village, because you were a monk, you were socially in the niche of monks, you learnt Thai and Lao, and so you can understand what people were saying. When we had Peace Corps volunteers there, the local lay people said they tolerated them, but they said we didn't need what they were trying to give us. We just tolerated them, and they learnt more from us than we learnt from them, which was really true. People thought they were helping, but they were being helped. Sometimes we don't know what help is. Sometimes just help is just being a good friend, being kind, being someone who can listen. Don't need to cure, but to care. I always remember that whenever I go and see someone who is dying, to care for them. Don't try and cure them. Is Buddhism anti-life? Not anti-life, not pro-life. We just care for life. Sometimes I feel like Buddhism has made me content with nothing, and I've lost the ambition I used to have. It's just a good thing, I reckon. People are way too ambitious in this life. And that's what causes so much environmental damage. You ask from the world things which it can't give you. And that's where the problems start. It's the same, you ask from a wife what can't be given. You always want her to look as beautiful as when you married her. Is that ever possible? Not looking, but if you understand, you feel the kindness and the connection there. That can happen. We ask things which the world can't give us, and that's where we get lots of suffering. So ambition is okay, but as long as it's correct ambition, not ambition wanting from this world something it can never give you. It's like wanting Ajahn Brahm to finish before it gets too late. You're asking things which can never happen. Or asking to listen to a talk without Eddie giving a comment. That's asking from this world. No, you're famous overseas, Eddie. No, well, if you want it or not, if you don't want to be famous, you're asking from this world something it can never give you. Okay. Any other question, comment, complaints? Can a monk exist without people not complaining about him? Of course not. Even people complain about the Buddha. Somebody gave us this Buddha statue, one of my favourite Buddha statues. And it was of when the Buddha, he had a huge number of monks in the town of Kosambi, and they were arguing over stupid things. Even monks argued. And what did the Buddha do? He tried to stop them arguing. He said, no, just forgive each other, let it go. They said, no. They even told the Buddha, their teacher, you just go and meditate, we'll settle this. They didn't even listen to their teacher. So the Buddha went off in solitude for 3 months in a forest. Please excuse me, but I love this story. He went off in solitude for 3 months, and there he met this big elephant. The elephant was also fed up with his group of elephants, always wanting to make decisions but not really respecting him. So the Buddha and the elephant hung out together for these 3 months. And the elephant would always get water for the Buddha and some food. The Buddha didn't eat that much. And the elephant loved doing this. And the little monkey saw the elephant giving food to the Buddha. And the monkey, he wanted what they call these days a piece of the action. So he found some honey and he offered it to the Buddha. And the Buddha accepted it. And the elephant was just so happy. Not the elephant, sorry, the monkey was so happy. He went swinging in the forest from branch to branch, so blissed out. And because he was too blissed out, he missed one of the branches and fell to his death. Don't worry, it always has a beautiful story. And as a result of that, he got reborn in this really high heaven realm immediately, just because of the joy of having given a gift to the Buddha. And the elephant just continued on, looking after the Buddha, and eventually the monks found the Buddha and asked him to come back, so everything's been settled, so the Buddha went back. But the elephant, having looked after the Buddha for 3 months, died of a broken heart. Had the Buddha all to himself for 3 months. And now the Buddha had gone. And the elephant, though, got reborn in the heaven realm even higher than the monkey. They both won out. I kind of like that story. Even being a senior monk. Do the other monks always listen to me? I'm not talking about you, you're a good monk. They don't always listen. So that's why I'm looking for a nice, maybe I go to Perth soon. Are there any nice elephants? Perth. Any nice elephants still left in Perth soon? Okay. Any monkeys? But anyway, you can understand that animals and human beings, you always get some criticism, that's part of the course. Do you ever get any criticism, Madam President? You don't. That's what I usually tell people. If you like these talks and what the Buddhist Society offers to you, you want to do any praise, this is where you praise. Any criticism? No, we all work together. So anyway, that's the story of the monkey, the elephant, feeding things to the Buddha. It's kind of beautiful. Okay, so better finish off. Is that good to finish off? Shall we still go for another hour? No, okay. You got your homes to go to. So now bow 3 times to the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha, and then we can have the other questions delivered personally. Arahant Sama Sambuddho Bhagava Buddhang Bhagavantang Abhivademi Suakato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammam Namasami Supatipano Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho Sangham